Do good work is not a label, but a way of living. It is the constant and diligent effort to achieve a new level of excellence in one's own life. It is the hidden inner beauty behind the struggle to achieve excellence. It's not perfect, but imperfect. It is the effort, discipline, and focus that often goes unnoticed. The goal of Do Good Work is to highlight that drive. The guests I have on this show emulate this drive in their own special way. You'll be able to apply new ideas into your own life by learning from them. We will also have one-on-one episodes with me where we'll dive into my own experience with entrepreneurship and leadership. Every episode is designed to provide you with ideas that you can apply and grow in excellence in all areas of your life, business, and career.
Today on the show, we have Michelle Kwok. Michelle is a medical science student turned social entrepreneur. She's the co-founder of FLIK, a female-focused apprenticeship portal connecting female founders and leaders to ambitious female students to facilitate game-changing relationships that lift the communities of women up. Her mission is to advance women's economic participation and accelerate women-led ventures globally. Excellent. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Michelle, learning more about your story and your journey, I'm really curious to see what actually enticed you to get into entrepreneurship and why did you go down this path in the first place?
From a really young age, I always felt like I wanted to create some sort of positive impact. And when I was younger, everybody kept telling me to create a positive impact, you have to be a doctor. Being a doctor is the best way to create direct impact. And I was like, okay, great. And so I went on that path my entire life. I went to university for medical sciences and I was like straight shot for medical school. I thought, it's the only way I'm going to be able to create impact. But the more that I met people in university and the more avenues that I was introduced to in university, I started to realize that there's so many ways that you can create an impact. And when I was introduced to the idea of entrepreneurship, it was like, you can make a job for yourself. Like you can make something where you can scale your own impact however you want it to be, whatever you want to create an impact in. It can be sustainability. It can be what I'm doing now, like with female founders. It can be for underserved populations. It can be literally anything. You can make, basically the idea of entrepreneurship to me when I was first introduced to it was you can make your dream job however you want it to be and affecting whoever you want it to affect. And so that's the first thing that drew me into entrepreneurship was because I grew up being a quote unquote rebel child. I did a lot of things that my parents were like, oh, this is so off the medical path. I was always interested in a lot of things and they always said, they would say this thing, it was like, you have a lot of knives in your drawer, but none of them are sharp. Which is it's a Chinese saying that you're a jack of all trades, but that's a bad thing. Like it's bad to be a jack of all trades. And, but I think I prided myself in being a jack of all trades. I was pretty good at a lot of things. I really liked to do a lot of things. And so entrepreneurship also appealed to me in that way that to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to be an expert at anything. In fact, it's probably better that you're not the expert at one thing, because to be an entrepreneur, you have to manage so many departments, so many different types of people, so many things on the fly at once. You have to be the best at being a jack of all trades.
Being a really good generalist before you specialize. Yeah. But generalists are needed, especially in early stage startups or even for founders like a CEO. If you're really specialized in an industry, typically the best first hire is a generalist who can support you in everything because that's what business is in the beginning, agile, flexible, and being able to be a jack of all trades. So that's really sharp there.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized that the best young founders that I knew who were super successful weren't necessarily really adept in one skill and weren't huge specialists in that skill, but they knew about everything. They read everything. They understood everything. And most of all, they understood people. And a lot of them wanted to create an impact. And that's why they created whatever company that they're doing now. And they were able to scale their impacts beyond, for example, being a doctor. I would be one person at a time, I'd be able to impact them directly. That's awesome. And medicine is an amazing profession.
Mm-hmm.
I was so all over the place that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but entrepreneurship, it's great to be all over the place. So everything, you're great at a lot of things. You can connect with a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also create some sort of technology or some sort of product that's going to affect like thousands, if not, or millions of people.
Especially with community. And I'm curious to hear, how did you bridge the gap from understanding and being awoken to entrepreneurship? Because that's a similar story that I had, like seeing that entrepreneurship can create impact in a business for sustainable good or for the social good for others, and being able to create impact through business, which is a medium, a channel to create impact. But how did you bridge that gap from, okay, cool, entrepreneurship, I can totally help a lot of people, I'm drawn toward this, to now doing more supporting female founders with your community? How did you bridge that gap?
So while I was in university, I worked a lot with other young entrepreneurs. I started to meet other people. We started creating events around Gen Z social entrepreneurship and mental health. I got introduced to the idea of entrepreneurship, but all the entrepreneurs I knew pretty much were all guys. And they were great. And I definitely would not be here without them telling me why you should try out this new realm.
Yeah.
But I also didn't have a lot of mentors or connections that resonated with my identity. And especially I found that there weren't a lot of women of color or Asian women that looked like me that were in that realm. So I think it started bothering me a little bit as I was going into entrepreneurship, because I always felt like I didn't belong. I remember thinking all the time that I'm at this event, everybody around me is an entrepreneur. I helped create this event even, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to do this because I don't look like anybody here. I'm supposed to be going to medical school. I look like everybody else is trying to go to medical school. So maybe that's where I fit in more. I don't know if I fit in here. And I would always feel like the outsider and feel different. So that was probably an uncomfortable feeling for me. And I also started to get a little bit more experience, and I got connected with companies. And one of the companies I ended up working with while I was in university was Bumble. And Bumble, if people don't know, it's beyond just a dating app. I didn't know this until I started working with them, but honestly, they're an amazing brand. They support a lot of under-resourced, underrepresented founders, especially female founders. And so I started working with events that were like women in leadership, women in business, women in tech, those types of events. And I would sponsor them with Bumble's money, and I would be there as a Bumble representative. And going to those events more and more, I just kept getting more inspired by all these women that were sitting on the panels or speaking at the events. And I was like, that's so weird. I've never heard of these people before. That's so crazy. And there's so many women who are interested in positions of leadership in tech and all these things that I never got exposed to. So I think there was a culmination of working with Bumble and getting more introduced to the idea of women entrepreneurs and under-resourced founders that are all helping each other, elevating themselves through community, that I loved. And also feeling like an outsider and wondering, is that normal? Should I be feeling like an outsider here? And then so one thing led to another. I ended up graduating from my medical science degree a year early so that I could enter this program that I got into called Next 36, which is in Toronto. It's a top program for young founders in Canada. And again, my cohort, less than 18% were women. We didn't have a ton of female founders and mentors. Most of our professors were men. And again, I felt like an outsider, like so much so that on my birthday, I had a mental breakdown and I was crying to it was my birthday, and I was like, I'm supposed to be so happy on this day, but I feel more than ever that I don't belong here. And I just cried to my roommate, who ended up being my co-founder, because she also was like, I also feel the same way. That's so weird, because she was the only South Asian woman in the program. We were like very definitely a minority, and you could definitely see a gender disparity. And so we were both talking to each other like, why are we both so uncomfortable with speaking in class? We were so timid with saying our ideas, and we were like, we don't look like anybody here. We don't talk like the other people here. A lot of people in the program were saying stuff like, I just want to start this company because it's a $1 billion company. And we were like, we just want to help people and change the world. And so we were like, is that naive of us? Is that wrong of us? Should we like, why are we here basically? And we started talking to each other and saying, why don't we find female founders? We need to find some mentors. We have to go out of our way to find them, and we're going to do it. And so that's why FLIK started as a media company, because it was a way for us to coffee chat female founders who were doing amazing work, but they had no idea who we were. So if we randomly LinkedIn DM'd them and we're like, can I take 15 minutes out of your day to have a coffee chat with you? They'd be like, who are you? But we started FLIK as a company so that we could not create a front, but it would come with this interview company and be like, we would love to interview you. We would love to learn from you. And we'll then post your stories online and create social content for you. And so instead of being these random two girls that wanted to meet with female founders and coffee chat them, we became these interviewers and this media company that would go to female founders and share their untold stories to our audience, share it across social media, create blogs for them, and just create meaningful content. But it would never was meant to be anything. It was meant to just be a space to share untold stories of visionary women. Yeah. Just so that we could inspire other people who had never heard of these female founders either, or female mentors that were doing amazing things. And also so that we selfishly could just learn a little bit more from their journeys and understand how they got there.
They're really smart. And that was, how long ago was that?
We started that in the beginning of June 2019.
2019. And then now recently I've noticed, and from when your website and your content, that you've expanded to 38 countries since then.
45.
45. I am outdated with 38. 45 countries. That is tremendous traction. Tell us more about that journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when we started the media company, we started to just share it with some of our close friends. We created an Instagram account, but by no means did we put it across all of our private accounts. Like, I did put it across my own LinkedIn and Instagram. I just shared it with some of my friends, and I was saying, you know what, check out some of these stories. And they would share with their friends, and they would share with their friends. So our Instagram started to get more DMs from people from around the world. And just from our media content, we reached over 28 countries with students and even aspiring female founders connecting with us, being like, how did you meet these people? How can I meet with people like this? Who are these people and why are they so amazing? Why have I never heard of them? And so we started to realize that it wasn't just us looking for these female founders and mentors. It wasn't just us looking to get exposed to entrepreneurship and start trying to find people that identified with our identities to look up to. It was women from all around the world.
Yes.
And so we started this kind of FLIK ambassador program. We'd say, if you want to be an ambassador with us, we'll help connect you with some of the female founders here. You can maybe chat with them, but you can also maybe share it with your friends from different schools. And so we started to get people from different universities sharing with different universities. And honestly, I have no idea how it happened, because I started to lose track of everybody who was sharing our content.
Oh, wow.
And more people kept asking, can I meet these female founders? Can I meet these female founders? And that's when I think we started realizing there was a gap there, that female founders that we were always interviewing, they would always say the same thing. They would be like, we're under-resourced. We definitely need help in our businesses. We might be doing amazing things and getting amazing traction and whatever it is. But everybody knows that female founders are undercapitalized, that they get less than 3% of all VC money that goes out. They might be having amazing traction and revenue, whatever it might be, but they're not getting the support that they deserve. So again and again, we would hear that from female founders. And on the student side, again and again, they were all DMing us being like, can I meet female founders? Can I meet these people? I'm really looking for a role model. I'm really looking to get into entrepreneurship. I don't want to get exposed to this industry, this male dominated industry. Oh, this person's really cool. And so there was a gap there that we could merge. It seemed like a win-win situation, that if the female founders met the students, they could get some help on their businesses. And if the students met the female founders, they would get mentors in established industries. And also they could get some career relevant experience and skills training. So we just thought maybe we should try and make this portal thing. Why don't we pivot our media company and add a layer to it? We can create a portal where female founders can connect with students and we'll call them apprenticeships because we want it to be a mentorship first experience.
Yeah.
A lot of young women lack those mentors that they look up to that resonate with their own identity, like I keep saying. And so we call them apprenticeships so that female founders could take on students, get helping hands on their businesses, and students could connect with people that they've been looking up to for so long, and people who are in industries that they never thought that they could break into themselves. And we just started a wait list for it. They're like, we'll just put a wait list, see who's interested in this.
Yeah.
And we barely put anything out. Like we were just putting it out to the people who were already subscribed to our newsletter, who were following some of our stories. We shouted out to some of the people who were acting as ambassadors for us. And in the first week, we had 800 people waitlisted.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we were like, oh, maybe we should make this thing.
There you go, get market data first.
Yeah, and then so we made it. It was an MVP, and obviously not all of the 800 people ended up signing up because people like sign up for a wait list, and not everybody actually goes through with it. But
Makes sense.
we had a few hundred actually sign up, and then every single month we got hundreds more, and every time people would get a match on the apprenticeship portal, they would message us and be like, can I share this with my friends? This is the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And so we started saying, you know what, we should make all of our apprentices ambassadors because they're all so avid about this program. So what we ended up doing was every person who is verified as an apprentice, so there's a verification process for both founders and apprentices, and everybody who was verified as an apprentice could identify as an ambassador on their LinkedIn. And so they put it in their LinkedIn experience that they're a FLIK ambassador and that they're helping us spread the vision and the mission to all of their schools around the world. And that's, I think, where we got the most traction, is that apprentice mentors, so like the founders, would also put it on their LinkedIn and say, I'm an apprentice mentor with FLIK. And every time it would come up on their LinkedIn,
they would ask about it. You're creating intentional virality there. And that's something that you shared a lot of wisdom. And that's a big hook that I do want to talk about right now. And just pause real quick, because I talk to clients and I tell them, whenever you're sharing content or sharing a piece of information or being able to create a multiplier for your community, for your products, for your services, you want to have that multiplier in order for new members to multiply into newer members, so that you're not doing all the work yourself. That's a very intelligent way of doing it, because you know your community's on LinkedIn. People are searching and going to ask about it, and as well as you have a really unique community that actually serves and solves a huge problem within the marketplace. So that's I just wanted to pause and say that's phenomenal work there. Yeah,
but honestly, if people didn't care about what we were doing and we were telling people, oh, put us on your LinkedIn, they wouldn't, right?
It wouldn't. You have to have a solid product, service, but in this case, community. And so right now, how large is the community?
Now we have over 4,400 women from 45 countries around the world. So it has definitely grown, and since we launched in January of 2020. And it's funny because we created the portal at the very beginning to host, I think, maximum 400 people. And we grew so fast in the beginning that we broke it. Yeah, it was like very broken for a while, and we kept on trying to fix it over and over again. Like there would always be things that would happen and we would be like, oh, we have to fix this and fix this. But people were so nice and so patient with us that they were like, I still love it. And so we're very lucky to have an amazing community.
Well, it's a huge testament in how you foster that community. And I have a few people who always have a question. Like, when you want to create a community, it's not just here, it's a community and it's created. There's a lot of nurturing. There's a lot of creating a community culture. There's a lot of support, because the community is pretty much the voice, the back that you're actually promoting, helping, and scaling that impact. Based on your experience, what would you say or give advice to those listeners here who have their own communities or thinking about starting their communities, best practices for them?
I definitely say the best practice for starting your own community right now is that you put in the work to meet everybody. I think a really big difference maker for us at the beginning was that my co-founder Ravina and I, we would put our Calendlies and we would put out like hours of our day for weeks on end and say, you know what, if you're part of our community and you want to meet with us and you have suggestions, concerns, comments, whatever it might be, just sign up for a call with us and we will do a 15-minute call and get to know you and understand what your feedback is, what you need from us. and we would take all of that feedback. So I've met with like hundreds of our community members to ask them what they want. I feel like a lot of people that I've talked to have created communities or companies, and they're like, I don't understand why people don't like the product, or they come and they get the product one time and then they don't like it anymore and they leave. And I'm like, have you ever asked them what they want? Like they are right. The answer is right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's right in front of you. You just have to get there. And although it took a lot of time and we definitely were very tired, it was definitely worth meeting every single person, because everybody had a different story. Everybody had a different reason for coming to FLIK. And that not only helped us with building a better community, but it also helps us market to people and tell them somebody who is resonating with your identity has come to our community for this. Maybe that resonates with you too. Maybe we can help you as well. And so definitely be there for your community all the time. Like, I'm very known for replying to emails like within 5 minutes, because I'm basically our customer service.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a huge difference maker too, is that whenever somebody has a problem, even if I can't fix it right away, I'll let them know I'm on it right now. I am genuinely looking for every possibility to fix your problem right now. And it is a lot of hard work, and you should not automate any of your customer service. Like, I've had a lot of companies come to me and be like, oh, I have an AI that will help you with your customer service, but that just takes away your brand voice. I think what's really important from the very beginning is that you identify your brand voice, and it can't be robotic and it can't be like salesy. It is a story. You have to be telling a story almost every step of the way. Even when I'm answering emails and I'm answering people's problems, I'll be telling them the story behind why I'm having so much trouble answering their problems. And they resonate with that, and they think they see you more as a real person, and they humanize your community and your product more, and you're a little bit more associated with it, instead of being, oh, it's just like this big thing that's out there.
They don't care
I'm
about
not
me, I'm just the number.
Yeah, and I don't connect with them at all. The best way is, at the end of the day, is that human connection. And not saying that you have to scale that and do that forever. It's definitely just at the beginning when you can get those brand advocates like fired up. So I've talked to several founders multiple times, and they're so much more willing to drive our community and speak within our community to drive that conversation. So it doesn't always have to be me or my co-founder. It can be hundreds of people who are just as driven about your community. So they want to contribute to the conversation. They want to share you online. They want to go into, so for example, we just started our community hubs, which is like a news feed within FLIK. They want to share on there, and they want to ask questions on there. And so it doesn't always have to be me driving every single part of the company. Once you do that legwork at the beginning and you get those brand advocates to be going out there and getting people for you, it helps you scale much faster on your own, and also they become part of the family.
That's so true. Creating a human connection now that we're going to be more online, even more quote unquote disconnected, but being able to know that there's another person on the other side of that screen. But even more, and you touched upon this, is doing things that don't scale first. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. You got to do the work. That's what separates things that last versus things that are one-time hits. So I love that you're doing that. You've had an amazing.
And also another thing, sorry, I just thought of this, but every single time you meet with somebody, you ask them at the end, how can I bring value to you? What can I do to help you with whatever you're doing? And it can, if sometimes, even if they have nothing, it will make them feel more part of your community, because you ask them every time how you can help them. And so I've definitely, at the beginning, that's another thing that maybe can't scale, but at the beginning, it helps you a lot in terms of how they view you and how they're going to speak about you to other people, because they're going to see you immediately as somebody who's generous, as somebody who wants to help them in any way. And it can be something super easy. Oh, I have this survey, can you put it in your newsletter? And you're like, yes, even though my newsletter is 150 people, I will do that for you. Or something like, can you like my post? And even if it's these small actions that they ask you to do, it goes a long way in the future.
And it means a lot to them, because it's, again, going back to that one-on-one, and there are ways to scale that in the beginning, but also knowing that they care about me in particular. So I think that's very powerful that you're doing that. And So with all this, you've done so much in such a short amount of time. What's next? What's the future of FLIK? Where are you headed?
Oh my gosh, there's still so much to do, even in terms of the apprenticeship portal. We're really looking to globally expand, even though we are servicing 45 countries now. Obviously, the biggest population that we have at the moment is in North America.
Mm-hmm.
But we did embark on this journey so that we could find and support those under-resourced and underrepresented founders from all over the globe. So we definitely want to be able to expand a little bit more and get more deeply rooted into the Asia Pacific regions, in Africa, where we're already starting to build a community there, and get a little bit more culturally competent in the ways that we are able to support founders from around the world. We want to be that comprehensive resource for entrepreneurial women globally. So not only do we want to have this apprenticeship portal, but we also want to be able to connect people with investors, or be able to, in the future, this will probably be very long the way, but be able to cut small checks for female founders so that we can help people scale right when they need it. Like I said, a lot of founders struggle with capital. We definitely need to be able to give people that seed funding at the very beginning that will make the difference between them saying, you know what, I have a really good job right now, I don't know if I should leave. And yes, you know what, I'm going to create this innovative thing that's going to change the world. I needed that seed funding to get me off the ground, and I'm going to do it. There's like a huge difference there and a gap there that I'm hoping we can one day help fill. It might be a while from now. We definitely have a lot more to do with the portal and the community hub that we're building now, but the vision definitely is to be the comprehensive resource for female founders around the world.
And you're on that way. You're on that track too. So that's incredible. Michelle, what's the best place for listeners to thank you for this episode or reach out to you?
Definitely, personally, reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Michelle Kwok on LinkedIn. It's /Michelle B. Kwok. And then for all of our FLIK stuff, every single social channel, you can find us at We Are FLIK. And then on our website, find us at weareflik.com for a little bit more information. And if you're interested, come join our community.
Wonderful, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.